Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors. Men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. My next guest went from a tire store employee to a buggy shop owner, driving skills trainer, vehicle appraiser, car show judge, and is now an Ormhoff board member. Gary Haugley. Gary Haugley, it's so good to have you here on the podcast. I just want to say thank you for taking the time and doing this. We're going to talk about your life. We're going to talk about your role on the Ormhoff Board of Directors. And to let everybody know, Gary and I came on to the Board of Directors at the same time. And Gary's a really cool dude. And so for all of you that don't know the off-road racing side and have come across Gary, he's got a pretty rich history, and we're going to get into that. But Gary, thank you so much for spending the time.
Well, thank you, Rich. I appreciate the call. That's kind of interesting.
Okay, well, so let's get started with the easiest question there is, and that is, where were you born and raised?
It's kind of interesting. I was born in Paris, France.
Oh, wow.
My mom was in the Army, and come to find out after she passed a few years ago that got in all her paperwork and stuff, found out she was an encryptor, and she was working with Eisenhower's staff during the war. It's kind of interesting.
Wow.
Then I came over here and basically, long story short, settled in Vista, California, and I've pretty much been here ever since.
So your mom was in the military, but she was a U.S. citizen?
She was in the Army, yeah.
Okay.
I had dual citizenship till 1969.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's really cool. Do you speak French?
I did when I was a little guy.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
That's my Spanish. I took 3 years of Spanish and 2 years of German, and all I can do is find a bathroom and order a beer.
Well, at least you got this stuff right.
This is the most important, at least.
You got that right, yeah.
So then you move over. How old were you when you came back to the States?
Oh, God. I think it was like 3 or 4, something around in there.
Okay. So you don't really remember that transition?
No, not whatsoever.
Okay. And you said you moved back into what city?
Vista, California.
Oh, Vista. Okay. What was it like growing up in Vista?
Vista was a small town. In fact, it is still kind of small, just getting a little bigger. We're about 25 miles north of San Diego and inland a few miles. There's a lot of hot rods at that time, cruising the drive-ins and all that kind of stuff, which is somewhat gone away over the years.
But it was cruising everywhere has.
Cruising Escondido, cruising over the coast, cruising Vista, just staying out of trouble, going to Carlsbad Raceway and racing over there, the drag races and stuff like that.
Did you say staying out of trouble or staying in trouble?
Staying out of trouble.
Okay.
Don't ever want to admit to anything.
I'll admit that things like I do not have a mugshot. That's been my goal in life, is to avoid a mugshot.
That's interesting. I think I have one.
Oh,
No, I'm joking.
okay. Because I know that there's one instance where I should have, but I was young and my dad was on the city police department as a lieutenant in the reserves, and so they just came and got me, you might say,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Got lucky on that one.
Yes. But it was harmless stuff, just being teenagers,
That's true. Got to have fun.
So going to school there, how big was the schools that you went to?
Just high school wasn't all that big. I don't remember how many people were in there. It was a long time ago. But it was, for the area, it was normal, about the same size as Oceanside and Escondido high schools and stuff like that.
Okay.
I graduated in 1971.
In 71, a couple of years before me. So did you were right there at the end of the draft period for Vietnam.
That is correct.
Were you worried about that as you were getting up closer and closer?
One of my best friends, we were involved in the lottery draft.
Right.
And he was so stressed out that a couple of days before it was all announced, he went and joined. And come to find out, both our numbers were at the bottom end of the poll. So he went and did a tour in the Army.
Wow. Okay.
And I stayed here.
Yep. That's it was one of those things that I was watching as a kid. I graduated in 76. But we didn't know how long it was going to last at that point.
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
And I had all sorts of cousins and everybody that went into the military, and some of them came back pretty messed up.
Yeah, I deal with a lot of them still to this day.
Right, because you volunteer time with Warfighter, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and we'll get into that a little later. What's when you were going to school, high school, say, what was? Did you have a favorite, subject, or, did you know what you were going to do while you were in high school?
I had no clue.
Okay.
I had no clue what was going on. Yeah, I enjoyed the classes. We had a good time in there. I know I was always into the automotive part, so I think when I was a senior in high school, a company came in. God, I can't think of the name of the company, that they had a automotive school that you go to. It was over in Phoenix, Arizona. So after I graduated, went over to Phoenix, went to school for a while. And it turned out the school was kind of a joke. And so came home on a couple breaks and talked to my mom, and all the parents got together and got all the monies back because it wasn't as it was advertised. So then I just stayed in the automotive business.
And when you were in high school, was the let's talk about maybe your first car.
57 Chevy.
57 Chevy. Nice. And two-door?
Actually, it was a two-door wagon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But not the Nomad?
No.
Wouldn't it be nice to have one of those?
I had a 56 Nomad for a while. They're fun cars. Yeah.
Nice. I like the 55s and the 56s better than the 57s.
The 7s are a little bigger. The 5 and 6s are a little bit smaller, a lot easier to get around. The 57's always been the most costly of the three.
Right. I didn't like the big, the bigger tail fin.
No, the wings in the back, the fins, yeah. That's where they got to hide the gas cap.
Right. I just came across a guy today in a built 70 CAD convertible.
Oh, really?
And he drives up, and the guy's probably right around 70. And he it had a big cam in it. You could tell that it was all custom exhaust, just pretty much straight. And it still had like the torque thrust wheels on it.
12-inch wheels.
Yeah. And I was just like, dude, nice car, and he was pretty proud of it. It was pretty sweet.
And those cars are fun. I deal a lot with those guys.
So let's talk about, you said you got into the automotive industry. What did you do early on, like when you came back from Phoenix? Did you working for a shop or what?
I went to work basically for Firestone Tire and Rubber in Oceanside, California. Started out as a brake mechanic. And after I think it was like 2.5 years, they sent me back to Akron, Ohio for store manager training. Came back from Akron and I ran the Firestone store in Oceanside for a while. Then they closed that for a new location. I went to the new location in Poway and stayed with them for a while. And then I left and went on to the tire business in another location for a while.
Oh, a different company?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did kind of the same thing with Sears Automotives.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had 2 stints there where I started off as... They hired me to do AC work because through high school, I'd worked in an AC shop. And then there was no AC work to do when they hired me. So I was in the exhaust shop. I spent like 1 day in batteries, 2 days in tires, and then they moved me to the exhaust shop.
A little bit of everything, get some proper cross training.
Exactly. I did everything but alignments at that time. And then went off to college. And then in the 90s, I went back to work for Sears as a salesman and ended up they moved me really quickly up into management, first as an assistant store manager for 1 year. And then I managed a number of different stores in the Bay Area, just fixing right after. Remember when Sears got nailed with Bureau of Automotive Repair?
Oh, B&R. Yeah, they got them pretty good.
Yeah, they did. I was part of the team. I'd just gotten hired back with them, and I was part of the team that went through all of the complaints to figure out why Sears got busted, and then worked on the team to make adjustments in how we approach sales so that stuff wouldn't happen again.
That's a rough one right there.
Yeah, but it was great because it was really high profile in the company, and it made me move up really quick.
That's good. You got lucky. You could have gone the other direction real quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But after 5 years, I saw the writing on the wall that Sears was really starting to screw the pooch, so I bailed. And but that's been my modus operandi is I just I never did anything for more than 5 years, whatever business I worked for or ran or started of my own, until I became an off-road event promoter. So,
oh, that's good.
I get bored,
Yeah, I can understand.
So working the tire business, you Firestone and then another company, and how long?
Yeah, I did that for probably about 1.5 years, and during my fun time, we used to go to Ocotillo Wells and have fun.
Okay.
And I used to buy my parts down at B&R Buggy, and they're Oceanside, off of Industry Road. And the guy that owned it at that time was a retired insurance rep out of Orange County. That's where he's from.
Okay.
And he'd come down, stay during the week in his motorhome, and they'd go home on the weekends. And he ran into some marital issues after a bit, and I walked in there one day, and he goes, "You got to buy this place." And I go, "What do you mean you got to buy this place?" He goes, "I'm leaving." He goes, "I kind of got in trouble with a little side job." And so he left, and I borrowed, what did I do? I think I borrowed like 20 grand from my mom because I didn't have the cash. I had a family.
Right.
And basically bought it. And there was a guy that ran the counter. There was a guy in a mechanic that ran the back room. I go in there and I have no clue, except, I kind of knew somewhat what was going on. Was there, I don't know, I think it was about a week, and the guy in the back was stealing. Caught him stealing. Then the guy in the front caught him stealing, so I'm standing there all by myself. But that was what I did. Moved from that location to a bigger location and with help from a lot of friends and family, was there almost 40 years.
Wow. And was that like a parts place and mechanics place, or what kind of work did you guys do there? I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with it.
full showroom. We did fabrication, mechanical. Had 4 buildings, all kinds of stuff. Did a lot of wholesale. Came out with a line of aluminum wheels back in, God, I don't know what year that was. Aluminum wheels made in America, kind of like a center line.
Okay.
And that business sold with the B&R. But we did a lot of fabrication, a lot of mechanical, a lot of everyday mechanical people. We worked on hot rods during the summertime when the off-road was slow, and then in the wintertime we did a lot of the dirt stuff.
Very good. And how old were you about when you took over B&R?
Wow, testing my memory. It's probably early 20s.
Okay. Cool.
It was a life change, but unfortunately I had a lot of good friends, and a lot of people helped me through the years when I ran into issues and stuff, and made a lot of great friends, a lot of people. Did some little racing here and there, as I could afford it. It was fun.
And what class did you race in?
Oh, I raced Saddleback in the Class 2 car, Saddleback up in Orange County.
Okay.
And then in the desert, did a 516 car, 216 car, a little bit of everything. Had a great time. My son's won a Class 11 champion 3 years in a row.
Oh, cool.
So it's been in the family.
So I just interviewed Aaron Wedeking from PRP, and your name
Yep.
came up as his first customer.
That's true. I used to be a big Beard seat dealer, and Ed and Barbara owned Beard. They were out of Arizona, and their son, his name was Levi. Super great people. And they used to sell a lot of the Beard seats. And they sold the business, and I'm sitting there going, oh, what am I going to do about seats? And some guy come in the front door one day trying to pimp some seats, and that's when I met Aaron. And I bought all the seats he had on that day. It was kind of neat. We had a good friendship through the years.
Right. So what other kind of products besides the seats and the wheels were you known for?
That's pretty much about it. The wheels and the seat. The seats were just part of inventory. I sold
Right.
a lot of seats.
Right.
But I sold a bit of, a little bit of Empy, a little bit of True Hoff, a little bit of everybody. It was before Car Tech and all those guys were big and popular. But, we got along great with those in the later days and stuff.
Excellent. And you were when did you meet Jan, and how did that come about?
I met Jan. She was co-driving with a buddy of mine called Mike Kalicki at a 516 car. And he was a salesman, a nut and bolt salesman. And I used to buy from him. Of course, we were friends. And Jan was his co-driver a lot of the times. And that's how we met. And we were friends for a long time. Then we decided to get married.
Nice. And she was a co-driver. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that she's helped you in the business, or does she work? Did she have a different job?
She worked at a bank at first.
Okay.
And the business, she helped me through it, here and there and stuff. But I was always involved in something other than the business, so it kept things interesting.
Right. And how many kids do you have?
I have 3 boys.
3 boys.
Yeah.
Didn't try for 5 in a basketball team, huh?
No, just the 3. The 3 was my first wife.
Okay.
Jan and I have 0 kids.
Okay.
She's just a stepmom.
Okay. But that's okay.
Yeah, she does great.
And the first relationship, the wife, mother of the boys, how long did that last, if you don't mind me asking?
Wow. asking me all these strange dates.
Roughly.
I think I was 6, 7 years, something like that.
Okay. All right. So the boys are pretty close in age then?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They're doing good.
All right. And what are their interests now? Are they racers or still or
My youngest son works for a exhaust company in Oceanside called Warner Muffler. He does all their custom fabrication, builds their custom exhausts, all their TIG welding, he's a fantastic fabricator. He's really good.
Okay.
And then my middle son, he just gave me a couple of granddaughters, which are amazing. And he works for a company that does a lot of DNA firms and stuff like that, the coolers, make sure everything's up and running. He goes all over the West Coast. He's their rep.
Okay.
And the oldest, he's been on vacation for a while. He's been out of touch for a little while.
Okay. And you became, which came first? The force recon training drivers for skills with the military, or becoming a vehicle appraiser?
Oh, probably when I had B&R, I also had an inspection business servicing auto auctions, Odessa and Mannheim auto auctions.
Okay.
I go down one day a week. I started in Oceanside and ended up in San Diego, but for one day a week, I go down there and I do post-sale inspections on all their vehicles, checking for frame, running and transmissions and stuff like that. I did that for 10 years. It worked out really good for one day a week. Then I had a customer one day looking for an appraisal. And in the state of California, you really don't need to have to have a license to be an appraiser. It's kind of weird. And so I went and checked and got on the internet, checked with the International Auto Appraisers Association. And so I called this guy up, and his name, it turned out to be Tony Monopoloni. And I go, I need to know what I need to do to be an appraiser. And he was real quiet for a second. He goes, no. He goes, you don't have questions for me. I got questions for you. Who the hell are you? I'm going, who in the hell is this guy? But it was kind of interesting. Basically, bottom line, he goes, he's going to send me a packet, fill it out, mail it back with a big check. And I thought about it, and everybody goes, you're nuts. And I go, nah, it just seemed right. So I did it, and he called me up, and I was an apprentice appraiser for a year. So the first meeting I went to was in conjunction with the Bear Jackson auctions in January. That's where we have our auctions every year, and our meetings, I'm sorry. So I go sit in this room. There's like 20-some people in there, and everybody introduces themselves. And I'm sitting next to Carol Shelby's personal appraiser, and this guy over here is this guy's appraiser, and one guy over here from Ford Motor, another guy over here from, I can't remember where. So during the intermission, I go to Tony. And Tony's like 5 foot tall, super nice guy. I go, Tony, I think I'm in the wrong location. I don't really think I deserve to be in this room. And he took his little fat finger, stuffed it in my chest. And he goes, Gary, you don't understand. Everybody in this room has their niche. I know what your niche is. Now go sit down and pay attention. But it was pretty nice. I learned that everybody in the room, we feed off each other because nobody is a complete expert in any particular field. And so we just, if I have a question with this or somebody has a question with that, everybody has their little expertise. It works out fantastic. Great people, a group of people. And so that's got involved, and that's why I got involved in the Auto Appraiser Association.
Okay. And that's something that you still carry forward. I know that because of you're the official appraiser for Ormhoff as well.
Right, Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame. I've done all the stuff in there, in the museums and stuff. It's I specialize in off-road, older cars, classics. The new cars are kind of boring, but I still do them. But I started that in 2005.
Okay. And
I'm still doing it.
And did that lead into the judging of vehicles as well?
Uh-huh. I think it was, early, probably 2011, 2012, right in there. I was selected to be a judge at La Jolla Concours d'Elegance, which is one of the most prestigious car shows basically in the world, in the United States.
Right.
And I've done that for 10, 12 years now. And I've done the one at La Jolla, the Concours d'Elegance. I've done at Desert Classics and Rancho Mirage,
Nice.
which are really fun. Coat and tie.
And what would you say is the most extravagant or the most off the wall vehicle that you've had to judge? One that was just like way above everything.
One of the Concours?
Sure.
Oh, that's really a hard question to answer. I primarily do pre-war American, which is Packards and things like that.
Okay.
Which are, they don't stand out, and jump up and down and stuff. I've done some very interesting cars with Rory Ward's collection. I've done the Mickey cars and stuff like that. But the most stand-up, I don't know. I had a tentative problem down at the concourse one day in La Jolla. I was doing a 33 or 34 Packard touring car, and there's 3 judges to a team, and you're all dressed up, and there's grass and everything. And I'm not proud. I'll get down on my hands and knees and look underneath the cars. So I put my clipboard down and I knelt down, and I was looking at the undercarriage, looked at where the exhaust comes back, and when the tailpipe goes in the muffler, it was TIG welded. Well, they didn't have TIG welders in 1934.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I flagged the car. The guy lost basically his best of show because he had won it previously. And at the intermission during the break, I get approached by the gentleman that runs the concourse and the owner of the car. And he wanted to know what the hell I was doing. So I explained it to him. And we went over to the car and I showed him. And he turned around and looked at me. At first, I thought he was going to take me out and get me shot. And he looked at me and he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I own a lot of cars. I have a lot of money. I pay a lot of people a lot of money to make sure it's perfect." He goes, "This car has been best of show a few places in the world. You're the first one that's noticed that." And he put out his hand and shook my hand and said, "Thank you."
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it kind of scared me for a bit. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, because especially when they say, they got a lot of money and they own a lot of cars.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. But it's a lot of fun to do. I really enjoy it. I just got invited back for next year.
Cool. Excellent. And what time of the year is that?
It's usually in March, I think it is.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the dates. When it warms up a little bit.
Right. Before it gets too gnarly.
True. Well, it's right down La Jolla, right on the cove, so it's always pretty darn nice.
Right. That's true. And that's southern. I grew up on the northern California coast around San Francisco. Is that southern coast? Does it get a lot of fog in the summertime?
No, not really.
No? Okay.
No. We've been in fog lately, which is kind of unseasonable, but every once in a while, you get a couple of days here in fog, because my shop was right like a half mile from the beach for all those years, so it's kind of used to it.
Yeah, because in Northern California, when the valley heats up, it sucks the moisture and the fog in along the coastline.
Oh, okay.
And that's why Mark Twain said, it's the coldest summer or the coldest winter he ever spent was a summer in San Francisco, because the wind and the fog, it just creates gnarly conditions.
Yeah, that I can see.
And then it changes in the wintertime. The coastline will be beautiful and the valley's all fogged in.
It's kind of backwards.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting.
So let's talk about the you said you do a swap meet. Do a lot of swap meets.
The Pomona swap meets I think it's 5 times a year.
Oh wow!
And it's the largest swap meet on the West Coast. There's 15 miles of swap meet rows, and usually 2,000 to 3,000 cars for sale.
Wow! And are
So
you buying and selling, or are you just, what do you do?
we have spots up there. We have a bunch of us got together, and we've had the same spots for a long time. And we go up there. The swap meet's Sunday for the public, and Saturday's set up. And there's more stuff bought on Saturday and Saturday night than there's all day Sunday. It's amazing. So we go there, we stay there, we cook there, we walk around, buy stuff, sell stuff. It's a good time to get together with everybody.
That's pretty cool. Then let's talk about your personal collection of cars, because I read a little bit about that. You've got a Volkswagen thing that's pretty different.
That's Frank Vessel's old Volkswagen thing,
Right,
6-door
Scoops,
Volkswagen
yep.
thing. Yeah. At that point in time, the trim shop down in Arizona was authorized to do 3 of them by Volkswagen, and Scoop had one done. And they used to bring it by the shop every once in a while, night service it or whatever. I hadn't seen it for years, and then Scoop passed away in an airplane crash. And I think it was a year or two later, I remembered it, but you don't think about it without seeing it. And I heard they were trying to sell it. And so a friend of mine went out there and I bought it. And it's pretty rough because it's been sitting outside in the dirt and stuff. I had to replace all the floors, 3 of the doors, all 4 fenders, motor and tranny. It was pretty rough. And I got it all done. And Curtis from Race Desert heard about it. He does articles on it. So he came by and did a little picture shoot on it. Well, I had one of my customers at the shop. His name was Fred Jones. Fred is a great guy, known him forever. And come to find out, his daughter is Bonnie Vessels. I had no clue they're related. And so after the car's done, and Bonnie found out about it, and we go to the Ormhoff meeting, and she walks up to me and basically flat out told me, if you ever decide to sell that car, I want first right of refusal. So it's been kind of interesting. It's a great car.
Yeah, because now she's on the board of directors. We're on the board of directors with her. She was there before us.
That is correct.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's a neat lady.
Yeah. And what other cars do you have in your collection?
I have a 72 Chevelle SS convertible.
Very nice.
And I got the thing. That's about it right now, kind of keeping things low.
And do you have a car out there that you really...
Oh, I got my 2-seater. Forgot about that.
The 2-seater buggy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
130-inch car. It's got a Chevy in the back, a V6. Built the car, 8-9 years ago. It kind of resembles... I used to have a Raceco, a 2-seater Raceco, Class 2 car.
Okay.
That would race for a while, and it kind of got killed in an accident. Got center punched by a truck. And so I cut the car in half lengthwise and put it up on top of my building down on the coast. It hurt a lot of attention. It was kind of fun. In fact, when I sold the shop, I gave it to Jamie Campbell from Raceco.
Okay.
So when I got that done, and I made it California straight legal through the SB 100 program. And we go cruise that around too.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's fun.
Is there a car out there that you would love to get your hands on?
Not at this time. Every time I turn around, you look at something, then you dream about it, and then 2 days later, you see something else better. So, you know how that is.
Right. Yeah, I was just at the Dirt Expo in...
Over in Phoenix?
Yeah, in Phoenix.
Scottsdale, yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking to one of the Geyser brothers, and they had one of their luxury pre-runners sitting out there that was a Gen 2 Raptor. I like the Gen 1s myself, but
me too.
I told him, I said, well, as soon as I win the lottery, I'm bringing my Gen 1 in to turn it into a luxury pre-runner right after I buy my Raptor R as a daily driver.
That'd be a good deal.
Yeah. And then he goes, well, I want to know when what we all want to know now is, when are you winning the lottery? And I said, as soon as possible. But I didn't win the billion. So
I went down and bought 2 tickets. I figured, what the heck?
I play every week just because
Yeah,
you can't. I feel you can't dream if you don't play.
you got a good point there. I agree with you.
So I figure I can. I don't drink any alcohol any longer. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
There's your vice.
yep. It's now I play the lottery.
Cool.
Drinking was just going to get me in more trouble anyway. So
Yeah, I can understand that one.
so let's talk about Warfighter and your relationship with that organization and what they do.
Oh God, I started off with Warfighters when I had the old shop. I had a gentleman come one day. We've turned out to be great friends. His Danny Novoa. And I had worked with First Force Recon for 10 years, starting in 1998. I used to do the motors and trannies and all their parts and stuff like that for the light strikes, the 3-seat tennis.
Okay.
And that program was, I mean, that's some stories by himself. I tell you, it was fantastic working with those guys. So then after programming, the cars got mothballed and put away. And so a few years later, I get this guy comes in the shop, and he had some issues. He got hurt over there across the pond, and he had needed some tranny work done. Did the tranny, and I told him to bring the car down so we could put the tranny in. And he goes, "No, I'll put it in." I says, "No." I go, "Well, you're not going to get the tranny to bring me the car." So he brings me the car down to the shop, and it turned out to be the biggest turd you've ever seen. Oh, it was unbelievable. So I got with my guys and motor guys and tranny guys and all the guys that worked there, and we built them a brand new car. Big 4-seater, Volkswagen powered, and back with power steering, and a body on it with a big old Marine Corps sticker on the hood, and we donated it to him. And that's how I got involved with Warfighter Made.
Wow.
It's
So
been
he
a
was
lot of fun.
he was just a vet that came in to have his vehicle worked on, and you guys just did a
Pretty much.
cool. That's pretty
A
stand
long,
up.
yeah, it's a long story behind it, but it was very, very fun to do. A lot of suppliers donated all their parts. We bent up the frame. We had it powder coated. We had the body put on it by another friend, and it just turned out really sweet. In fact, he still has the car.
Nice. And then, so how did that lead into Warfighter? Was he part of that, or
They had just started pretty much, and he was part of it. So I went up there. It was after I sold the shop, and then I get bored. I got to stay busy,
right?
and so I go up there and help them do projects and stuff. I'll never forget one of the first times I was up there. They were doing. There was a body on something. I can't remember what it was. Aluminum body panels or something. And I called a friend of mine to do the aluminum work, the tin work. And I told him, I go, "Is there anything you need me to do while while you're here, let me know." He goes, "Okay." And so we got to the point where he needed the Zeus tabs welded on. And he showed me where they went. So, put them on there. And I had to get inside the car to take my rivet gun, put the springs on them. And it was really tight down by the pedals. And so I'm down there and I squeezed up in there and I reached that back with my left hand to get the rivet gun. I couldn't reach it. I go, "Damn it." I hear this voice go, "What?" I go, "Hand me my rivet gun." And I hear this voice goes, "What are you, frickin' crippled?" I go, "Just hand me the damn thing." We're both kind of laughing. And he hands it to me. I click, put the springs on, and I climbed out and I turn around, and there's a guy in a wheelchair sitting there looking at me, laughing at me, and he only had one arm. Makes you humble.
Yeah.
These guys are fantastic to work with.
And great humor.
Yeah, unbelievable. Not for what they've been through. I mean, they're not all perfect, but they have their issues. But tell you what, they're the best bunch of guys you ever got to work with. I'll tell you.
Right. Pretty awesome.
It is.
And
I'm
then
very fortunate to be with those.
there's a car coming up for auction, I believe. Do you know about that?
Yeah, we found it. It was donated by Ormhoff to the Warfighter Made. It's Mickey Thompson's old pre-runner and course marking car. It's an old high jumper, 2-seat. And it's been sitting there, and basically we got it running, put it back to pretty much original condition, took the Weber off and put the Zenith back on there, fixed all kinds of stuff. It's been sitting forever, and we almost have it done, and it's going to be advertised and sold through bringatrailer.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so anybody can get in on that auction.
Yes, yeah. Once we get it ready, everybody will know that it's going across the board.
Well, cool. That's awesome. I'd like to participate in getting the word out about that.
Oh, you will. Trust me.
Okay, good. And so, Warfighter, all the guys that are working on the cars are vets or disabled vets, one way or another.
Yes, either mentally or physically.
Okay.
I shouldn't say mentally, but
well, they have issues, correct?
Yes. Everybody there.
That's pretty awesome. And you had mentioned the Force Recon. Let's talk about that and some of the stories that you have on because you did driver skill training, correct?
Yes, I did. It was kind of interesting. Those guys, the first Force Recon was out in Las Pogas, which is north of Oceanside, just a little bit, the top part of Camp Pendleton. And so I went out there, and I go, and there was a first sergeant that ran the maintenance department at Recon for all the vehicles, the Humvees and everything. And we got to be good friends. And so anytime you had an issue, I'd help them or guide them through working on it. We did the trannies and motors at the shop for rebuilds, and we had spares that went out on float with the different vehicles when they went out on float to other countries and stuff for whatever they had to do. It was just fun. I had a great time. One of the first times, what was it? Oh, they had a dog and pony show coming up, and one of the first sergeants, Sergeant Major, didn't really care for me, and hated me with passion because I was non-military and I had blonde hair and I didn't belong there. And so we just kind of tiptoed around that whole situation. I mean, the colonel, the majors, everybody else was fantastic. So he called me out of the blue one day. I needed my help, and I go, "Excuse me, sir, you need my help?" And he goes, "Yeah, we have a dog and pony show coming up." He goes, "I need some help." I go, "What can I do for you?" And he goes, "I need you to teach me how to drive a clutch."
What?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. A lot of the Marines out there, they'll run 50 miles for lunch and have a good time, but they were limited on some of the mechanical abilities.
Right.
The first thing I did when I went out there is I went and they had a problem of blowing the CV joints up on the buggies. And they go out there and play, grab a handle, a turning brake, and do donuts in the parking lot in the dirt. So to eliminate that issue, I pulled all the handles off the turning brakes and didn't have a problem after that. But it was fun. A lot of fun times.
And what was, of all the things that you've done, is there something that's really kind of like passion driven?
Everything I do. I try not to do things half-ass.
Right.
I go for it 100%. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but that's how I am.
Okay. Fair enough. And now that you're basically, well, you sold the business, so you retired from that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still doing the judging and you're going to the swap meets. Like I partially retired from the event promotion side of our business, and I find that I'm busier now than when I was what I considered working full time.
Oh yeah, because I still work up at PRP.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I go in early in the mornings. I usually stay till 1:30 or so. Then I go do my appraisal business.
Oh wow. Okay. And are you hands-on fabbing frames, or what are you doing?
No, up there, since they got bought out by Best Top, they have other divisions in there. They got like Bolt Ring,
Right.
which is tie down. Then they have Speed Strap, which is another tie down company and stuff. And I just kind of help out run those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I enjoy it. I stay
And
busy.
let's talk about Ormhoff.
Okay.
The you were doing appraisals for him, and then you were asked to be on the board of directors. And what was the what's your passion about Ormhoff?
That was kind of a shock to be invited on there. It was totally unexpected. Um, I just I believe in what they do. I'm more of an old school person than some of the guys on the board. One of the first times I went to our little secret meeting for our new inductees, Mike Thomas wasn't even on the board of directors, and I thought that was extremely strange. So I'm for the grassroots. That's what I'm after. You know, where the sport started. There's so many stories and people out there, old racers that have all these unique stories that they can't get told. And I think with this new program coming out about your story is my story, I think that'll help a lot.
Right.
We all have our buddies that, been around for 100 years and they got the most outrageous fun stories you've ever heard. But who's going to hear about them? Nobody.
True.
And that should be brought up and put out there so it's available for people to see.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? That your story is our story?
I think it's fantastic. I called Barbara. It was right before the first year. I know it's been busy with all the stuff, but I need another box of cards. But every time, like if I'm at a gas station, I see there's pre-runners everywhere down in California. Every time you turn around, somebody's got a white fenders or a spare tire hanging off the back. And every time I see one, I don't care who they are, what they do. I go over, if I have a second, I go over and I go, hey, here's a card. Check this out. And I explain everything to them. They take the card and they look at me and go, well, I can tell my fun stories. I go, you can tell any of your stories. And so, if you hand enough of them out, you're going to get a reply someday. I've probably handed out a whole box of cards, which is 500 so far.
And do you know some of the stories that have come back?
I've heard of some, and I've read about a couple of them on the website. It's kind of fun.
Cool.
But
And
there's so much out there that needs to be put in.
have you put your story in?
Of course not.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here.
I know, you're right.
So
excuse me.
No worries. With everything that you've done in off-road, when you were a kid, did you ever look at that as, that was what was going to happen someday, or did you just kind of fall into it?
I kind of fell into it. I had no clue. Always into the hot rods and the street racing and stuff like that. And then I got involved in the off-road, and I thought, this is a lot more fun. You can't get in trouble.
Right. Or less likely to get in trouble.
Less likely. The guy that owns the Carlsbad Raceway, the local drag strip in Southern California, which is gone now. He used to hire us, and on our quads or our motorcycles or whatever, when he had big events out there, we patrol the perimeter of the area. And every time we caught somebody, we get a part of the ticket. It was kind of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You always got gate jumpers.
Oh, yeah. That's normal.
We, doing the off-road rock crawling events that I do, we'd be out in the middle of, say, Johnson Valley, Cougar Buttes area. And, there's no fences out there. There's, we'd set up and, we have a front gate on the main road coming up to that area. And you could always watch the cars try to drive around.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, man, people, do you understand that the amount of money it costs us to put on these events? And we're not asking for, $100 to get into the thing.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I watched this pickup truck go up to the front gate, and then he turned around after talking to our front gate personnel, and then he drove out into the desert, and I could just watch him, and he'd come up around, and I knew he was coming up around the backside. So I just started walking that way, and I get there, and there's two guys, a wife, and two kids. And the kids were probably, 8, 9, 10 years old at the most. and they're carrying chairs and an ice chest and everything. And I said, "Hey, you got your wristbands?" And the
Say
guy
what?
was like, "No, we're not paying to get in here to watch this." And I explained to him that with the rental of toilets and the insurance and the permitting through BLM and
Yeah.
the so-called volunteers that always cost a lot of money. It's still, there was a lot of costs involved to put the event on, and that it'd be nice if they helped us out. And he was like, "No way, we're just going in." The one guy was,
Really?
and I said, "Man, that's really bad." And I said, "Kids," I said, "is this your dad?" And
Oh,
the kids shake their head, yes. And I said, "Okay, well, you're learning a valuable lesson from your dad today, and I always want you to remember this." And the dad looks at me and goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Kids, you're learning how to steal."
pretty much.
And the kids just kind of like wide-eyed, you know.
Yeah.
The dad looked at me like, "I can't believe you said that." And he goes, "Come on, we're going home," and turned around and walked back to their truck.
Oh, wow. That's good. That's great. I like that.
I was pretty proud of that one.
Yeah.
If the guy would have just pushed through, that would have been fine. I probably wouldn't have done anything, but I had to,
Yeah.
you just,
Oh,
at
I agree.
$15 for an adult and the kids would have been free. It's come
Yeah.
on, where else can you get that kind of entertainment for, 10 hours a day?
You can't.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Some people. But it's going to happen everywhere.
Yep. True. So what would be your recommendation to somebody that is just an enthusiast that wanted to get into the off-road as a business or a lifestyle? What would you recommend? How do they get there?
It's kind of rough right now. It used to be a lot easier, I feel, because there's only a few shops around and you can go learn and, go in as an apprentice or whatever. But now with the side-by-side movement, it's kind of gone crazy. There's shops in every street corner. That's a hard question to answer. If they really want to get involved in the off-road part of the business, maybe going to work for a well-established company and learn the ropes first instead of trying to go in and know everything at first. Jamie from Raceco's taken a couple of people under his wing and trained them, and he's a fantastic teacher. People like that have their heart and souls in it, and they want people to learn. I think that's about your best bet. Or maybe go work at a counter place for a parts company that deals with off-road, that we can learn what's out there and what this part fits and what that part fits. So you kind of have an idea of what's going on.
Right.
That'd probably be the easiest.
And what do you think about for years, there was a lack of like tech classes and stuff like that in schools, like especially high school, where you got those kids that are
metal class.
16 to 18.
You got time for a quick story?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, you're gonna love this. There's a guy named Richard, and he has a spot up Pomona, close to us. It's about 5 rows down. He always cruises around on this little Honda 90, the old pit bikes.
Right.
And I think it was 2 trips ago we were up there, so figured 2.5 months ago. He come driving up Saturday afternoon, and it's hot, and driving up with an old high jumper, buggy, 2-seater. Comes cruising up. I go, "Richard, where in the hell you get this?" He looks at me and goes, "Buy me a cold beer in the shade and I'll tell you the story." I go, "Perfect." In fact, he just sent me down a copy of the story. In the early 70s, 72, 73, High Jumper donated some frames, not just bent up, to the local high schools. And his metal class, his project, him and his best friend, where you get that buggy done, when you graduate, you get to keep it.
Nice.
Yeah, and so they busted their butt and side jobs and long story done, family helped them and stuff, and they graduated, 2 years later, and they got to keep the buggy. Well, during that time, they had built a little trailer to tow behind it, and it's got a 40 horse in it, 1200cc motor, no frills, just rear brakes. But back then you could make things street legal. It was easy. It had plates on it. So after they graduated, they saved up their money for a little bit, and they drove that, and it's all documented, pictures, everything. It's amazing. They drove that thing from here, Anaheim, to New York City, from New York City down to Florida and back.
Wow. And a
Yeah.
2-seat high jumper.
Yeah. It's amazing. He sat there for hours just telling these stories. I go, you got to be kidding. And then when I saw him last time, and he brought me basically a summary of what they did with pictures and dates and all the stuff, and that's pretty cool.
And is that story on the Ormhoff site yet?
I hooked him up with with one of our members. They're going to do a story on it.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's all going in there. He's working with a magazine right now also to do it.
Cool. Very good.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. I mean, just to think of it, and then all the pictures to prove it, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, I can't even imagine driving a high jumper, 36 horse across country and back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what an adventure.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. But that's the people you run into. That to me, that's so special. The people.
Right, and that's the cool thing about, for me, with Ormhoff is that, I knew nothing about off-road until a friend of mine that worked for Bug Formans.
Okay, I remember those guys.
Yeah, and he said, man, you guys got to watch this movie, because me and a buddy were building a street bug that was pretty radical for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he put the movie on, and we watched on any Sunday. And even though it was about the motorcycle side of Baja and racing and all that, I just knew that at that point, somehow I was going to get involved with off-road.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably 75, 76, somewhere in there, because I was still in high school. And in 81, I graduated from college, worked in San Francisco for a while, moved up to the mountains up here in Placerville, California, and met some people with Jeeps, and they took me on the Rubicon for the first time, late 81, early 82, maybe spring of 82, and I knew I was hooked.
I can imagine.
And then when Dust to Glory came out, and Dana did Dust to Glory, then did in 2005, that was 2003, they shot it. 2005, they released it and went to the premiere down in LA, and they had Bruce Brown was there along with Roger DeCoster and Malcolm Smith, and I got to meet those guys, and I gladly was able to go up to him and say, thank you for inspiring me to get into off-road. It took me 20 some years to finally make, about 20 years to make the jump into it full time, but still, thank you for lighting that spark.
There's a lot of great off-roaders out there. Yes,
there sure are. And hopefully with us as part of the board of directors for Ormhoff, that we can expand that knowledge about, the past, for the future off-roaders to understand where this all came from.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm really behind that 100%.
Well, Gary, I want to say thank you so much for spending this last hour or so and talking about your life and your time in off-road.
Something I don't really talk about it too much, making me think.
Yeah, you're going to have to put your story in there.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy. But no, it's been fun.
Shelley has been after me for years to write a book about myself, and I think that's really hard to do.
Me too.
But this podcast has been able, what I've been able to do with it is kind of tell my story along with listening and hearing everybody else's story.
I think that's really good. Kind of does two things at once.
Right. So someday maybe somebody can take it, extrapolate all that information and put together something.
That'd be kind of cool.
Because I can't remember everything that ever happened, but with talking with people, it triggers memories.
Yeah, like we were talking, I was thinking about the Del Mar thing that we did for years. The tough truck racing and the buggy racing at Del Mar Fairgrounds. We started that back in late, God, what was it? 25 years ago.
Nice.
We did that, and then the board of directors at the Del Mar Fair, now that they're owned by the state of California, is all different type of people in their management, and they don't believe in motorsports. So we weren't able to go last year. And I'm being very polite.
Yeah, you have to be sometimes.
Yes.
Even though you may not want to be.
I know.
It was like when I posted up the pictures of the license plate for my new Jeep, or the Jeep I'm just finishing the build on, and it says Ormhoff. And Rory came on and said, "Man, I couldn't do that because I have too much road rage."
I know. I replied back to that one too.
I
saw that, and I got off the phone. They're available in the state of California too.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Grab
black and yellow. I'm going to.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, Gary, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I will talk to you again down the road.
Okay.
At least once a month.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk soon.
Yes. All right. Okay. You take care, and thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Rich.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.